Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Steakhouse, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of our T-Bones Talk here on Facebook Live. Glad you're on. The open sign is there and got it flicked on. Sit back, relax. The menu is about to be served. I'll give you the menu. We're here. We're ready to go. It's the Steakhouse. We're open up and ready for business. Already good to see our mate Brad there in Cleveland checking in. Had a great show those boys did yesterday there in Cleveland, and we're give them a little shout out here a bit in a moment as well. Glad you're along. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world watching us. And if you're watching us on replay, hope you're staying safe as well. I mean, no matter maybe we have visitors and watching us from time to time overseas. The drill is, you hearing me? Give me a thumbs up, and I'm already getting some thumbs up, and that means you guys are hearing me. Got a loaded show today. A bit later, half hour mark or so, we'll be going out to the west and we'll talk to the man from Alaska, T-Bone's right-hander, righty extraordinaire Dylan Baker will join us in the half hour mark. Here in a few minutes, joining us from Fargo for the American Association, Executive Director Josh Buchholz will be off the top of the show, our first guest here in a few minutes. And we're going to start off with our Wednesday's Wisdom, and we're going to jump into that. And, of course, more fun on hijinks, some TikTok videos, you guys' questions and comments. It's your show. So you guys, T-Bones fans or association fans, fire off those questions. I want to hear from you and want to find out what's going on. So we'll pull the Steakhouse logo down. The open sign is there. We're glad you're along here. What should be an exciting show. Glad to have you. It's just been a real every time we do. I mean, every time I do these shows, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but it's especially exciting right now, this current stretch, because we're in a real different time. We're in a real just a totally different place for all of us. And it's one of those deals where it's different. I mean, that's all you can really say. I mean, it's a different time. Times are different, and it's just a real strange place we're in, right? We're all in that same boat, right? So just glad you guys are along. Good to see Jeff. Wednesday's Wisdom here. That's the first thing we're going to start off with. And, last week we talked about Rogers Hornsby, and really I jumped into him because his famous quote about looking out the window, waiting for spring, for spring and for baseball. That's what he did in the off season. And I jumped on that because I love that whole deal. But this one here, and I don't know if I've already lost the screen here. I hope I haven't done that yet. But this one, it was, last Wednesday was Jackie Robinson Day, right? I mean, we celebrate usually Major League Baseball on the 15th of April. Always, that's the date that Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in the Major League Baseball. And we always celebrate all the big league clubs where they all wear number 42. That's always a big player. And but this year no league ball playing right now. And with that being the case, I don't want to say it slipped my mind, but I don't want to say glossed over it either. That's probably a bad way to say it, but I didn't really give it the due justice it probably should have gotten last week on the Jackie Robinson Day. Again, we weren't playing ball. But that being said, I liked the historical side of the game, and I wanted to dig a little deeper into Jackie Robinson's story and give you some Wednesday's Wisdom and a tidbit, not so much a saying, but a story about Jackie Robinson that I didn't know about. And I like to think I know a little bit of something about his history, the history of our great game. And in September of 1957, which a lot of us who weren't alive don't know anything about that, but if you were alive and you were living in New York City, one of the boroughs, 4 boroughs in New York, and you were in Brooklyn at that time, you're probably pretty upset because you knew that the Dodgers were those damn bums were going to head out west to go to Los Angeles. They tried for a long time to grab a new ballpark there in New York. Ebbets Field was by what at that time people considered slightly outdated, and that's always kind of the play. We all know this works in big league baseball and in any sport. You're always trying to get a better venue, and they were in the Dodgers were the same thing. And of course, they eventually would go out to the West Coast, play in the Coliseum for a couple of years for the Cathedral. Dodger Stadium was built in a ravine north of Los Angeles downtown. But Jackie Robinson did not go west. A lot of folks don't realize that. If you watch the Ken Burns documentary, you may have seen he actually talks a bit about it. Jackie Robinson was purely a New York guy. He felt indebted to his time with the Dodgers. He felt like he belonged in that environment. That was his place, his people. That was where he belonged. He also was very heavily involved in the Harlem area with racial situation of the time of the 1950s and 60s. And what I didn't realize, and I had no idea about this. I always thought Jackie Robinson did a promotional announcement for a Chock full of Nuts. You guys heard of Chock full of Nuts? Chock full of Nuts was a coffee company. It still is, but it was a coffee shop throughout metropolitan New York, that tri-state area. There were about 80 locations at the height of their coffee shop. They were Starbucks before Starbucks. They were more like Dunkin' Donuts for Dunkin' Donuts. Really, they were a big player in the Northeast, especially the New York metropolitan area, 1950s into the 60s. But you may have seen some old black and white videos of Chock full of Nuts, and you may have seen the commercials. You may have heard the radio commercials. I heard Vince Scully calling Dodger games in the background when the break. They played a Schaefer Light commercial and a Chock full of Nuts commercial, both in the 1955 broadcast I heard on Monday. But Chock full of Nuts is a very big part of the Brooklyn Dodgers and the culture of New York back in the late 50s, early 60s. Of course, again, you can see Chock full of Nuts here and there on some shelves in the grocery stores and all that. Folders kind of pass them. But what I wanted to pass along to you was the story of Jackie Robinson. I don't know if folks realize this, but Jackie, when he went into well, not went in when he retired, he didn't go west in 1957. He didn't go west. He stayed in uh, in New York, and he joined Chock full of Nuts as an executive and became basically their personnel director, their spokesperson on the street. And he was a guy that was out there in the forefront back in that time period, really trying to not just promote the brand, but also he used that platform to help not so much integrate, but also reconcile race relations through the 60s through his executive work with Chock full of Nuts. He was one of the top executives. He wasn't the owner, but he was one of their top guys. He'd be in corporate structure today. He'd be like your chief executive officer or chief, maybe vice president of personnel, and that's what his job was. And Robinson went on to a lengthy career with them, and he used that platform, as the story goes, to really get a closer handle on the racial situation of the times. And I think the story is interesting, and I pulled some nuggets from it as we got Josh standing by. But at the time, you know, this was a time of kind of the golden age of advertising. You guys have ever watched, admin? You've seen these old school ad campaigns, but Jackie Robinson was very involved in those ad campaigns as well. He actually used the Chock full of Nuts stationery in his work with the NAACP, his work throughout the country. He actually did a tour, and the owner of Chock full of Nuts, I believe his name, and it escapes me right now, the top of my head, but William Black was his name. He actually let Jackie go on a tour with NAACP promoting racial relations post his career. And so Jackie used his platform now as a ball player and also as a spokesman for a company. And he really was on the front edge. I don't think people realize, yes, he was a cutting edge guy when it came to being the first black player and all the abuse he went through. But his post playing life, he was also very involved. And he's a guy I think today in our society we could use a Jackie Robinson type in our society today. And what you see there in the middle of the video screen is actually a little video that I'm going to actually have to mute it, I believe, because, let's try if I can mute it. There we go. This is a video that it used from a documentary of him in his Chock full of Nuts days there in New York, but he was a very big spokesperson for the brand. And again, for all of us. And he's the kind of guy that I look back on Jackie Robinson's legacy and I never saw him play. All I've seen is the videos, but I look back on his legacy. What I love about the man was he was a difference maker in every stop in his life. Oftentimes athletes, they retire, they go off in the sunset, and you don't hear from them unless they're broadcasters. Here's a guy that went on and worked hard to not only further race relations and get our country in the right direction, but also help their corporation, help their culture, was really a leader in all aspects off the field. And I love that about him. And I didn't know this. I didn't know all this. I knew about his playing career and kind of a brand, and also and what he did for chock full of nuts. Which, if you were a New York person back in those days, you know what chock full of nuts was. It was the Starbucks slash uh, Dunkin' Donuts of 1957 before the Dodgers went west. So that's today's Wednesday's Wisdom. A little story about Jackie Robinson behind the scenes. His first job post career was, in fact, an executive with chock full of nuts. And speaking of executives, a nice segue to go right into one. This guy may be one of my favorite executives of all time. Joining us from Fargo, executive director of the American Association. I'll pull him up here in just a moment here, as I don't know if he can hear me or not. But Josh, you can hear me. How you doing, Josh? I'm doing good. Good to hear you. Glad to hear your voice. Your camera's not, but I got you. Let me see if it's showing me you're not working, but I got your audio. So your camera's not, but your audio is working. I've got your audio loud and clear. Um, I am fine with audio. Unfortunately, I didn't pull a mug shot of you up, but I got a lot. I think a lot of us association fans know what you look like. And what am I? What again? Well, I should say broadcaster wise. Uh, my my memory of Josh is always like I've always told this to there's three guys I've really four, but Shane Trips to be one, and then yourself, Chris Brown, and then Pete Lavin. I've seen those gentlemen in the midst of tornadoes and storms and tarp pulls still somehow run the ballpark like a madman on the front of a ship, which I guess is what you've been lately with all this crazy stuff. You've kind of been a madman on the front of the ship. Have you had a chance to take a breath at all? You guys have been swamped. I've Well, I'm hearing you, so I don't know why they're saying that. Let's see here. We can't hear the guest. That's odd. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you down real quick because you're hearing me. You're hearing you're hearing me, correct? Okay. You guys aren't hearing him. No one can hear him. I can't hear him, Dan. Huh? Okay. That's odd. I've got him on my screen, and let me try it again. Let's try it again here. There we go. I'm gonna put you. Let's try it now. Now do you hear me? Yes, I believe you guys have got him now. Let's pull the audio up. There we go. All right, I've got his audio on there, so you should be able to hear him now.
How
And
we doing, everybody?
Josh, yeah, you go. There you go. I got you now. I got you now. And we all got you. No, but they say no, but we got you. Okay, I apologize for that crazy screen. That in the middle is actually not what Josh looks like. He actually is a pretty handsome fella. So, all right, now we got you. I've got you going, and I got the audio as well, and we got you. Okay, let's try it again. I was just talking about guys to the audience here, about guys that I've seen on the front of the ship, pulling tarp and trying to get things to go on a crazy rainy night. But suddenly, you've almost got the ultimate rain out with this situation. It's been crazy for you guys.
It has been. It's Josh Schaub, our commissioner, and I have kind of joked around trying to figure out what to do in this whole situation. Is like being a GM and trying to decide when to take the tarp off without having radar or weatherman or anything else like that. So it's been there's no playbook for any of this for anybody. So we're trying to do the best we can. We're trying to be very opaque or not opaque, but very transparent on what we're trying to do here moving forward. And hopefully we can see some baseball this summer. That's really the number one goal. But at the end of the day, it's about safety. It's about following regulations and we've been granted a fairly long runway here, and we've got a little under 2.5 months to figure out sort of what's up, and hopefully we can, like I said, we can get some baseball played.
Yeah, there's no doubt this is something we've never been through. I mean, we don't have to go really gloss over that. It's pretty much a given. This is the craziest time we've all lived through. What factors have gone into planning? Now, in case you guys missed it, and off the top, I went with the Wednesday's Wisdom, but in case you guys missed it, rewind the clock. The league announced yesterday that the season would not start on the 19th, but hoping that down the road, should things all work out, that sometime a window of July to September would be the plan with an 80-game season, and that's what the league announced yesterday. We talked about it here on Facebook, and we released it as well. What factors, Josh, went into the planning stages of this? I mean, what are you guys really looking at the big picture, I suppose?
Sure. So when all this really started, and I'll take you behind the curtain here a little bit. We instituted weekly calls with the ownership groups around the league, as well with the GMs, to keep everybody up to breast and sort of just start planning. And in the original calls that we had with the owners, the first date that was pinpointed was April 17th. Like, we wanted to have a decision on opening day by April 17th. We didn't need to race out and decide we're postponing the season, or we're suspending the season, or we're canceling the season on, in early March, because there was no need. We didn't know. Nobody had any information. Everything was coming at you. If you remember, even back then, you think it's crazy now. Back then, things were changing hour by hour. You didn't really know, what direction this was going to go. So we, as a group, they decided to make a final decision on opening day on April 17th, which we did on Friday. Tuesday was decided as the release day, which we held to, and we suspended the beginning of the season, postponed the beginning of the season. We now have a nice sort of runway, I guess, I keep using that phrase, but a runway to try and ramp up if possible. Our issue is we're in 12 markets, and I believe 9 states and provinces to try and line all these things up. And our intention, certainly, our business is as a baseball league, is to play games. So our intention is to play games. It's completely out of our control, but we're going to continue moving forward with the intention of staging a season, playing as many games as we can. So we've looked at kind of that beginning of July as a time frame. Could be April, could be June 29th, that Monday. It could be the weekend of July 3rd, could be the week after July 3rd. I think everybody's pretty flexible on that. We can get 80 games in and finish the season around September 20th, which would put us only into the first week in October for playoffs. And could it get cold in Winnipeg or Fargo or St. Paul or any of our northern climates at the beginning of October for playoffs? Yeah, it could. Sure. But you know what? Sometimes you gotta roll with it a little bit. And we're excited for we can actually say we have October baseball, so we might have a Mr. October in the American. That would be the hope. That would be the hope, right? So
that's right.
No, so there's been a lot of planning. We have weekly calls, like I said, with the ownership group, with the GMs, and then when we're done with that, Josh Schaub and I get on a call with the Frontier League and the Atlantic League in the afternoon on Fridays, and kind of everybody recaps what's going on. Everybody is pushing forward in the same direction. The 3 major independent leagues are in lockstep as far as decision making and understanding that we can't make any decisions right now. All we can do is plan and be hopeful that that nature will take its course, that science will catch up, and that at some point they're going to allow baseball and gatherings to happen. But we're certainly not tone deaf. We understand what's going on in the world right now. And if it doesn't happen, I think people are able to accept that, but we're not going to give up at this point. There's no reason to give up because nobody's told us to give up yet. So we want to do this.
Sorry about that. I've told our viewers, our fans, and I know this for a fact, how you guys have been out in front of this thing. I mean, going back, well, the release came out yesterday, and I've been saying meeting, and everybody obviously knows you guys are meeting, but you've been meeting going back months now. You guys are way out in front of this. Was there anything in particular why, or just because you just prepared, or just luck of the draw? What really got you? Because you guys have we're going back in the early March, late February. The league was way out in front of this thing.
Well, I think it's a credit to our ownership groups, and everybody's pretty calm, right? Like, we understand that it a lot. I don't know what tier we're going to fall into as far as reopening of society. It's going to happen at some point. are we going to be fortunate enough where it falls into the baseball season? I hope so. And we have to plan for that because we don't know. But it's we've just had very calm, considerate discussion amongst the ownership. Obviously, everybody wants to play because this is the lifeblood of these teams is games. But I think just like I said, putting that date out a month and a half in advance, saying, okay, we're not gonna decide now. Let's give ourselves time. Let's see what happens. And again, now we've got another date in mid-May where I think we'll get closer to looking at what's going to happen at the beginning of July. And we have the luxury of time. Like I said, we've given ourselves now another runway to sort of slowly traipse through this and see what's happening in our markets. Our markets are not New York City and California,
right.
But our markets are still large metropolitan areas. So there's issues. There's certainly some issues, and we see the packs of states that are getting together, and we have Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana. So there's a lot of our markets that are sort of doing things together, which is a good sign. And as we continue to figure things out on a daily basis, hopefully it bounces in our direction.
Executive Director of the American Association, Josh Buchholz, my coffee going down a little rough. Josh Buchholz on the line with us. Brad Allred, one of our brethren in the association in Cleveland, asking Josh your thoughts on potential issues with foreign players needing visas, such as being able to have access into the country to participate in the season. That's an interesting question. There are foreign players. I know we've got an Australian, Todd Van Stencil, for example. Doesn't he'd have a little trouble getting over the ocean right now? But in general, that's a good question, Brad. What do you think about that?
Again, it's a time thing. I mean, the president issued a statement yesterday saying they're shutting down all immigration to the United States, and I would assume that includes us. However, our players are on the same visas that major league players are on. And I don't know if the P1 visa is going to be an exception in the U.S. And I'll be honest with you, I have no idea in Canada how that works out right now. But our players play on the same visa that your favorite major league players do. So if they do open up P1s to allow sports to happen, hopefully that allows our guys to be able to make that travel. Now, just because you get approved for a visa doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a visa, because at this point, the consulates in the foreign countries that we work with, specifically Santo Domingo and the Dominican Republic, the Venezuelan players have really been all going to Colombia right now. So the Bogota, the consulate in Bogota is closed for visas. So there's a visa approval through USCIS, but then you go to the consulate and you get that piece of paper actually put in your passport, right? So there's two steps to this whole deal. So right now, the consulates in the foreign countries are closed anyway. So you can even get approved, but you may not be able to go in. And there's going to be some special circumstances, I think, if they are going to allow athletes the ability to enter the country. And this has majorly gone down. There's a few steps that are going to have to happen. So, am I saying no? I wouldn't say no. But I don't have any idea what the president's going to say from one day to the next, like anybody else. So, the statement, like I said, he put out yesterday that they're stopping all immigration in the United States.
Right.
On the surface, sounds bad. Now, he's also a sports fan, so it could work out. Right. But I don't have any answers on that. I'm not an immigration expert anymore. Not that I ever was, but now I don't have to do visas, so it's a little bit of a stretch for me to give you a yes or no answer on that. But I would say it's going to be challenging at the minimum, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Brad also asked, this is actually my next question for you, is challenges to restructuring the schedule. It's been a challenge. Walk us through that, because obviously we're not playing the 19th. Things are out the window. How has that been, the schedule-wise?
Well, we had a June 1 and a June 15th schedule for 90 games on June 1, 80 games on June 15 that would end on Labor Day. Not so bad. The June 1 schedule was probably 99.9% the same. There's just a few. I think there's one series that had to switch because you had to match up home and road, right? So you had to have 45 and 45. The June 15th, I think there was 3 series that we had to switch, but otherwise than that, it was the same schedule and a game here, a game there. Nothing crazy. So about 99.2% the same. This one is a little bit more challenging because we're trying to take into account some other things now with a late June, early July schedule. Trying to minimize travel for clubs. Obviously, revenues aren't going to be what they would have been with a full bang schedule where you can sell out your stadium and things like that. So we're trying to probably make it a little bit more divisional to limit the longest of the travel, no matter what, and then you got to even out the home games too. So we do have 2 weeks on the end of the season that I'm filling in right now. Feeling like I'm pretty close to this thing, but you never feel like you're done when you're making a schedule. So I would assume that I'll send this off to the commissioner for his look-see here in the next couple of days. And we're, like I said, we're pretty close. We don't want to make things. My biggest concern with these tentative schedules, making them public, is it confuses the public, right? So now you've got your main schedule out right now, and we put a tentative schedule out there, and now it sort of muddies the water a little bit. I would say my number one focus in making the new schedule is to keep the home dates the same that have already been released to the public. The opponents may change, but the home dates themselves will likely stay the same. It allows front offices less hassle when you're trying to reschedule groups, or if you have groups that have already purchased for the season, especially later in the year, July and August, they'll be able to keep those dates if they wish. Having to try and reschedule sponsors. There's still some blackout dates out there. The blackout dates tend to lessen later in the season, but there are still some events that teams have, some annual events and things like that we wanted to be cognizant of. We have some issues with a couple places that have college football overlap in September, Lincoln, Fargo, where they're right next to football stadiums, and parking issues come into play, and tailgating, and I mean there's a lot of moving parts to it. So we're very close to that sort of late June, early July schedule. We're still looking at 80 games. 40 games seems to be a number that everybody's comfortable with for home games. I mean, you hate to lose 10, but if we can get anything in at this point, would be good. And 40 seems to be good. And to go really only a couple weeks later, it puts us right on sort of that Atlantic League schedule. For us, it seems kind of a positive, and we'll just we'll get it out there eventually, but we're close. But I would say it from a fan standpoint, from a Kansas City T-Bones fan standpoint, the dates that you see in the schedule from basically July 1 on are going to probably stay on the schedule. And Brad, in Cleburne, the dates you see in Cleburne from July 1 on are probably going to stay in Cleburne. We're going to be pretty much in tune with those, because we don't want, like, of all the disruption we've already got, we don't need any more disruption, man. let's not get too crazy here. So it may mean somebody in the last 2 weeks of the year gets 3 out of 4 series at home. Well, sometimes we got to do that. But I think I'm really trying to get it's going to be a pretty heavy divisional schedule. Ideally, you'd want to keep it 2 home, 2 road in your division. And then it would be, I think it's 3 home, 3 road out of division. Right. If we do 80 games, it kind of, with a game here, game there to even it all out. But that's sort of what we're looking at right now. So.
couple final things about Brad says. He says we're lucky to have a knowledgeable guy like Josh. Always doing a great job. Thanks for the answers. So I
Thank
thought
you,
I'd get
Brad.
that out to
Thank you,
you.
Brad.
Brad's a good guy, and I can echo that.
Absolutely.
Two more things, and then real quickly. The first thing is a league thing. I don't know how big of a deal this is, and this is kind of I think this, and I think minor league baseball came out and made a comment about it yesterday, but there was this little blurb, and it kind of got a little traction last night about possibly this restructuring MILB, which would include perhaps a couple of teams, one of them being the Saints and St. Paul, other them being Sugarland. Was that just some writer making stuff up? I don't see something like that. Or what is all that about? I mean, I guess I'm asking you as a guy that's sort of the know, is that just somebody making stuff up and hoping it sticks or what?
Well, I mean, J.J. Cooper's a very good writer for Baseball America, and he has his sources. But everything that we've talked to the Saints about, they're very happy in the American Association. They have a strong history, obviously, in independent baseball.
Yep.
They are proudly independent. Obviously, they're sort of a beacon in our league of they did a lot with a little in Midway Stadium,
Yep.
and now they do a lot with a lot in
Right.
in CHS Field. And Derek and his staff, I don't care if they're independent or not. That's one of the best minor league teams in America, right? So of course, why wouldn't Major League Baseball be interested?
No, it's no doubt.
But I don't. But I don't. I can't put any credence to it. I can tell you on our end, there's been no discussion,
Right.
and we go on assuming that St. Paul is going to be a member of the American Association for many, many years. I think they're happy here. I think, Marv is one of the guys, Marv Goldklang, their owner, is one of the guys that started this whole thing. He's got a lot of heart, soul, blood, sweat, tears, cash, everything in this.
Yeah.
And I know he's very, very happy in the American Association, the direction that we're moving, and hopefully that continues. I'm not worried about it. We're not losing sleep over it at this point. And what happens. Baseball's changing. There's a landscape change all across the game of baseball, and what the American Association looks like in a couple of years may change as well. And I'm not saying teams. I'm saying, how are we perceived with Major League Baseball? I think that's changed. That's been the biggest seismic change, I think, as far as independent baseball goes. Is everybody kind of chuckled at the relationship with the Atlantic League last year and the rule changes and things like that. But what it did was Major League Baseball looked at the Atlantic League, but holy cow, these are good teams with good players and great facilities close to our major metropolitan areas. How else can we leverage this type of thing? And I think now they've gone and looked at the American Association and the Frontier League and went, there's something here. There's something here. And I think I think the old regime of Major League Baseball bought the Kool-Aid that minor league baseball was selling them, that it's beer league, it's played on dirt field, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't have the time or the need to really look at it. And as they've tried to evaluate where minor league baseball is going in their world and how they see Major League Baseball moving forward, they went, these are great professional leagues with great players. It's a talent pool for us. You saw that last year. We went from selling 28 players to 50-some players in one calendar year. They know what's going on here, right? Okay.
Sure.
And they've stopped listening and started watching, and the Atlantic League deal really helped that out. So I'm not saying we're going to be affiliated with Major League Baseball, but I would not be surprised if there's some sort of association moving forward where we're working closer, especially on some technology issues, for player scouting, but also for the good of our stadiums, our ballparks, our fans, things like that. So it's an exciting time. And, this whole coronavirus really kind of put the brakes on some things, but excuse me, but moving forward, to figure out what works best for the American Association and MLB moving forward.
Real quickly, just while we're wrapping, let you go here. Doubleheaders, are those on the horizon for us this summer?
Hasn't been brought up yet. I wouldn't take them off the table. With limited rosters, it's tough. You don't want to schedule too many of those.
Right.
Pitching and whatnot. So at this point, no. But again, nothing is off the table at this point.
Right.
We have no idea.
And I got you. And also, just your thoughts on the T-Bone situation. I know it's for us as a staff, as a T-Bone family, it was a long year for us. Chris Brown and I were just joking there, Dave, each other going, boy, we feel like we've lived 10 years in a year this
Right.
last season. But Mark Brandmeier's come in. Exciting to have Mark. I know his energy, his enthusiasm. It's from a league standpoint. What is your take on Mark Brandmeier and what the Brandmeier family is going to bring to the league?
Yeah, from a league standpoint, very exciting. Great to have new ownership in there, kind of revitalized a great market for our league, without a doubt. And a little TLC, some new ideas, some additional capital are all going to be great. Thanks for the T-Bones. Obviously, the staff is good there. The field staff is good there, Joe. I mean, it's hard to complain about what Joe Calpietra does on the field down there. He's a proven winner. He's done a great job of not only bringing in, high talent, but moving that talent on and continuing to refill as things happen. He's a very good talent evaluator and recruiter. And so I think Kansas City sits in a great situation, and there's a lot of teams in this league that'd be jealous of the footprint that the T-Bones have and that district in Kansas City, Kansas, of the Legends and the Speedway and the casino and the soccer stadium, all the things. It's a destination hub, and I just think bringing in some new ideas, some new, like I said, some new capital, and when all this clears up, I think it's going to really, going to bode well for not only the T-Bones but for the league. From a personal standpoint, my family is from Kansas City. My mom grew up in Horton, Kansas, and Lawrence. My dad got his MBA and undergrad at KU. The only reason I'm in Minnesota is because he took a job in the 70s in Minneapolis. That's how I got up here. But all my relatives live in Kansas City, Kansas area, and a few over on the Missouri side. But so for me, like when the team first came, my uncle owns Kelly's out in Baser. So by the way, if y'all are hungry, you're doing takeout at Kelly's in Baser, head on out to about 5 miles west of the ballpark. Great food. And I know he's excited to get opened up, my Uncle Bill. So if you do go out there, tell him he heard me on the radio. So,
yeah, Uncle Bill, he's doing the work for you. He's working for you, Uncle Bill.
So when Kansas City came into the league in 2001, it was super exciting for me because I spent so much time in Kansas City as a kid, and we're a Kansas family, and so to me, this is really exciting to see sort of the resurgence of the T-Bones, and I'm disappointed that the momentum has kind of gotten stopped, but there's no momentum anywhere right now. So we'll figure out a way to get it going, and yeah, it's awesome.
Hey, I appreciate you. And by the way, Josh, Brad asking, do you believe these things are good for the league? Exposure, these shows like Rail Talk Live and this little thing. Yeah, okay. I figured you did.
I'll do these any day, all day, man. I like talking. I'm a talker, so it's,
I know. Hey,
we have to use technology. We need to still reach out to fans and make sure that they remember that we're here. And these things are fab. I tune into pretty much. I don't always tune in live, but I tune in as much as I can to a lot of these. Keep an eye on you guys a little bit, but no.
Yeah, I know you do, and I appreciate that.
But it's fun, I miss baseball too. I'm ready to get outside. The snow has finally melted here in Minnesota. It's supposed to be our first 60-degree day here in Moorhead today, and I'm ready. The trees are budding. The ice is off the pond in my backyard, and we're ready for spring without a doubt. So hopefully this virus stuff clears up and we get to see some baseball.
Amen, brother. Always good to have you, and always enjoy our conversations at the ballpark and here as well. And we will chat with you again soon. Thanks for taking the time, and blessings, my friend.
Thanks, Danny. Take care. Be safe.
You bet. There he is. That is Josh Buchholz of the association right there. Appreciate his time, taking the time for a busy day. We're going to jump right in our next guest who's standing by in the virtual green room as well. And we will go to him in just a moment, but let me actually take Josh off the screen there and bring in. We're going now. And now I didn't realize this until recently, that this gentleman is actually not coming to us from his native home in Alaska, but from the West Coast out in Nevada. There he is, Dylan Baker. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. The sun's out, can't complain.
Now, where are you coming to us from?
Reno, Nevada. So this is where my wife is from.
Okay, so Reno, which of course you folks that don't know the Nevada, it's going to be the northern corner. That's that beautiful mountains and
Yep.
all that, and
Oh yeah.
and so it doesn't look. It looks a little bit like Alaska from maybe a postcard, maybe, but
Yeah, for sure. Tahoe's definitely similar. I mean, still a lot of desert, but Tahoe has all the trees and mountains and snow like Alaska and the glacier. So it's pretty sweet, and I've really enjoyed my time here and got to love it. So it's been cool.
well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're part of the T-Bone family, and you've been a phenomenal class act for us the whole time. We love having you. Uh, First off, let's jump in. What are you doing to stay in shape? What are you? Because you can't really. You're not able to as a team. But what are you doing? Is there a certain way? I know I saw the TikTok videos, and we're all going to the fridge and getting our gloves. But what are you doing to stay in shape and stay sort of in ballpark preparation?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, everybody has a struggle with this for sure, and there's no gyms and stuff you can go to, but you make the best of it. But I mean, I've been just doing my best. I bought a net last year for this kind of reason. If I didn't have anybody to throw with, I can just throw into a net. And then this other company makes kind of looks like a really big sock, and you can throw into it. You strap, there's a little strap that goes around your wrist, and you could still you just throw the baseball just like you normally would, but obviously it's not going anywhere, which is kind of cool. So it's easy to keep the arm in shape, and then just try to do. I mean, really, all I can do is like band work and body weight workouts and running. And I've been hiking a lot just because the weather's been really nice.
Right,
Just
right.
yeah, to move around some. But I mean, it's definitely not ideal. But I mean, the world isn't ideal right now, so
No, no,
it's a tough
no.
spot. But so I just, I mean, I kind of just do what I can. I'm staying with an ex baseball player that played in Reno. So I can play catch with him, and so that makes it a little bit easier. But it's definitely tough. It's tough on the mind for sure. But I'm doing the best I can, and I'll be ready whenever the season's coming about.
Yeah. Have you? How often do you? Does Joe? No, I've asked Joe this a couple times. He's been on, but does he call you guys as much as I think he does? I think he's checking in with you guys. He's like this dad is like checking all of his kids. He's always. You hear from Joe
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Recently I have, yeah, he's been texting us a lot more, and then like you said, we've been doing the TikTok videos. But no, he's been good to keep us updated. Obviously, he doesn't have a lot of information. He's been kind of waiting to hear from everybody else. But
Right.
yeah, he definitely likes to check in on everybody and hopes everybody's doing well, which is awesome. He's really good at that.
We got a question here. Mike Martin says, Dylan, keep that arm working. We're expecting some heat from the mound from you later this summer. So Mike's already telling you, you keep working, young man. You
Yeah,
keep working.
will do. I'll be ready.
Let's talk. Why? I mean, you had a chance. You came from a situation. You have bounced around. You were the Indians and the Tigers organizations. Indie ball is different.
Hmm.
How was that adjustment for you? You seem to have a seamless adjustment. Some guys have troubles in that. You adjusted pretty smoothly. How was that adjustment for you going from the Dodgers organization to independent ball?
I mean, it was tough, definitely like mentally, but I mean, you got to make the best of it. You're, I was there. There's nothing I could do about it. The only thing I could do is, perform and try to get back in affiliated ball. But it took a little bit. I had time to like think about it while I was here last year for I think it was about 2 months while I realized I was going to be playing any ball. And I mean, my wife makes it super easy, very supportive, and all my family and friends. And my agent was telling me this is the best spot I could be going to was the T-bone. So it kind of, I mean, it excited me just knowing that, teams are coming to watch the T-bones and hearing about
Right.
Joe. And then I was looking at the roster, and I knew some guys on the team, and I played against some guys. So I was pretty pumped up about that. And then right when I got there, it was pretty much like a family. So it was super easy. And I mean, I had a blast. I had a lot of fun. I didn't expect to have as much fun as I did playing indie ball. Just it's different. It's definitely different, but I loved it, and I'm excited to get back out there and get going.
You're Cheryl asking Dylan. I'm trying to say, how do you say that? Is it Mike?
Michaela.
Michaela. Michaela.
Yes.
Is Michaela there with you? And if so, tell her hi. So I assume she's there
She
too.
is. Yes, and I will tell her hi.
Yeah, Cheryl saying, checking in. Also, Morgan checks in saying, "Gonna have to have your help with other TikTok videos to get ready." Well,
For sure.
yeah, he's ready. He's all good. Hey, I found my headphones in the fridge, so it's all good. Yeah, yeah. As far as I've always wanted, and I've talked to you a lot. I've never asked you this. I've always just mentioned in the air, but you grew up in Alaska, which for most of us that live in the lower 48, it's just a place that we kind of dream about, maybe read about in National Geographic shows or whatever, or seen on TV.
Yeah.
What is playing high school baseball like in Alaska? I mean, is it? I have this vision in my head. It's a lot like being from Texas. Everybody thinks that all the Australians think Texans are riding horses, and I have a 6-shooter and all that. I envision you guys playing in mittens and in the big jackets. And is it like that at all? Is the visual right?
I mean, I would say early on, yeah, definitely. I mean, we can't really get out onto the field normally until probably pretty close to around this time, maybe a little bit early. But I mean, normally we have a bunch of ice or snow and we have to start shoveling, and someone gets a little excavator or something to get off the ice for our field. But I mean, I would definitely say it's obviously not the same as the lower 48s just because of our weather situation and in the competition. But I mean,
Right.
it's baseball, and we play through anything. I've played where you can't see home plate. I've played where there's a foot of puddles at first base, second base, third base. So you just got to play, and everybody loves it, and it's awesome. And it definitely makes me like, I don't know, just like when it rains now and we can't play and it's sprinkling and everybody's like complaining, I don't want to play in this. I'm just like, you guys have no idea. So it's pretty funny.
This is like the beach for me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Now what? No, I also know that the time. The only state I've not been to. It's the only one I've not been to. But
Really?
I know that
Okay.
the time that the sun, certain times of the year, the days are longer. Is that correct? So does that help? I mean, because you're able to play baseball in the
That
sunshine
definitely
at
helps.
midnight. Is that a plus?
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. So I think it was my freshman year in high school. We went to Fairbanks. It's like north middle of Alaska, and I think it was like 1:30 in the morning. We're at a state tournament, and it was still bright out, so we played wiffle ball in the parking lot.
Why not?
We
1:30, the
could,
sun's
yeah,
out.
exactly. So yeah, in the
Why'd you
summer,
do that? Because you could.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, it stays out for a while.
Morgan asking you, avid fly fisherman. Is that what they do there? And that's kind of the stereotype too. You guys all fish, right? I mean, you all fish and
Yeah,
hunt
definitely
bears, right?
fish. Yeah, I'm not super good at fly fishing, but I like to fish a lot. It's definitely tough to get. Normally, I don't get home in time to really do much fishing, but I try to get as much as I can, some halibut fishing out in the ocean. But yeah, I grew up fishing a ton. I would say my dad and my brothers are more of the fly fishermen. I'm more of just the regular rod. But no, I love it, and hopefully, I'm gonna try to get out here in Reno and go fishing if we can.
There you go. You guys have
Yeah.
a question for Dylan? Please fire him away. Dylan Bacon joining us here on the Steakhouse. Glad you guys are along wherever you're watching. Glad he's with us from out in Nevada. The T-Bone family. What I love about it, and I talked about this with Joe a lot. There's a certain type of guy he gets. I mean, he could go out there and get the guys that are just superstars. They're also good players, superstar type players, but also good people. You've got a lot of really good teammates. Talk about those relationships. Did you really get close to those guys? Like I think you did, because it looked like you really were close to those guys. Guys like Tommy Collier. I mean, you guys all really bond. There's a certain T-Bone bond that Joe gives for you guys. Did you get the same feeling that I saw watching it?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was awesome. The chemistry was great. Everybody just meshed so easily, and we were out wanting everybody to perform good and well. Like it was just awesome. And especially having Daniel Nava and Sean O'Malley, the older guys that have been around playing and been up there, and it was just, you could just pick their brains, and they were so easy. Chris Colabello, you know, they were so easy to talk
Yep.
to and so comforting, and just, I mean, they're just great. And it was really cool to hear from Sean and Nava. One day they were just telling me, he's like, you know, we love when you show up to the ballpark because you're always, you know, bringing in, you're happy and upbeat. So it was really cool to hear that from veterans and guys that have been up in the show. And I mean, everybody. It was
Right.
so easy. Even new guys that came in, you know, they were a part of the family.
Now, the ultimate goal is to get back to chase those major league dreams, I suppose, for you. I mean, you're wanting to get back, and at some point, I know it's a big calling card. Is that? I mean, I guess that's asking a simple question, but probably a simple answer of yes. But how does that affect your decision to play for the T-Bones? I know that's a big part of Joe's program. Is that something he tells you guys as players? Hey, we're going to try to get you to get back to affiliated ball. Is that what he tells you guys?
I mean, yeah, it's definitely his. I mean, obviously he wants to win too. Everybody wants to win. We want to win while we're there and help the team out as much as we can. But yeah, I mean, he sets a standard for us and sets just in place of getting teams to come watch us and help us out. And, you know, he gives us all everything we need to perform, but he obviously expects us, you know, we're old enough to realize what we have to do to be ready and perform and help the team out. But yeah, he definitely he wants us to, you know, get all the way up. And I mean, it looks good for him, it looks good for the T-Bones, it looks good for everybody. And it's an awesome feeling to have a manager like think like that, instead of just like, you know, this is all about me, but
Right.
everybody's a family when they come to the T-Bones with him. So
Yeah, is no doubt. I actually heard a broadcaster talk about this. It was I went to the Sportscasters deal online on Monday, and I'm trying to think who it was. It would have been I believe it would have been I think it was the voice of the gentleman that does the voice of the Chicago Bulls, and I forget his name, but he's talking about getting the family atmosphere, even amongst
okay.
the staff, and the T-Bones are like that. I mean, it's a whole. I mean, Morgan and her interaction with you guys and I. I mean, I feel like I'm part of the family. I'm with you guys all the time. It is a cool
Absolutely.
family atmosphere that you don't always you get a different atmosphere. I love that about it. I mean, I love it. Do you love that atmosphere?
No, absolutely. I love the family atmosphere. I'm a big family guy. So anytime I could be on a team like that, it makes it so much easier and just so much more fun and enjoyable. So yeah, it's great.
Bobby says, great organization. Seen that for sure. Of course, his son Keith played with us 2 years ago, and no doubt about that. Morgan says, Joe is a class act and right off the field. No doubt about that. As we talk here on the Steakhouse with Dylan Baker, my name's Dan Vaughn. Glad you're along. Okay, let's have some fun a little bit. We're having fun anyway. But
Yeah.
what do you do? Okay, this is a different time. You're going to look back in your old age when you're my age and tell your college age kids, well, when I was your age, I was sitting waiting around to play baseball at the world's strangest time. What are you doing to pass the time in this? Obviously working out, but what else do you do besides sitting around working out? What are you guys doing? Is there something you're doing to pass the time?
I mean, I'm definitely a video gamer, so I play some video games. Binge watch some Netflix, Disney Plus, all of that, TV shows. But I try to get out as much as I can, go on hikes, bike rides. We have some yard games around the house that we play, and I was playing disc golf for a little bit, but that got shut down, so we stopped doing that. But I mean, really, try to take like 3-4 hours every day just to be outside, just move around, you know, just keep the mind good and well, and not just get down on yourself and get, you know, it's very easy to get down, especially during this time. But yeah, anything I can do to be outside and just pass time is really helping.
Big question being asked, the peanut gallery, your biggest pet peeve. Is there a big pet peeve that I don't know about? Apparently somebody knows about it.
I don't know. Biggest pet peeve. Oh man.
Long bus ride?
I guess long bus ride. Yeah, those are tough. Honestly, probably when I'm driving, when people don't use their blinkers, it gets me. It gets me bad, just because it's so simple. But I mean, I get it.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have too many. But yeah, that one fires me up sometimes.
Do you have a baseball? Also asking, do you have a baseball ritual before games? Is there something you do? Is there something you do ritual-wise when you're pitching?
I would say I mean, I definitely do like pretty much the same exact stretch and listen, like put my headphones in, get locked
Right.
in. I do like go through my stretch program and everything and kind of try to have like the same times of like when I'm sitting in my locker getting dressed and like just like thinking of like what I'm going to do next. And it's like pretty time oriented, but I don't think I'm over the top on anything. Like I'll still talk to people and have fun because the more I can keep my mind off like stressing myself out of like this is my day pitching, you know, it definitely helps. And like like even in game, like I come in from the dugout and kind of joke
Right.
around with the guys just to, you know, ease the mind, I guess.
Sure. This and that, whatever works for you. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm coming over tonight. What's for dinner? Are you cooking tonight? If you are, what would you cook tonight? We were all coming over to dinner for pandemic lockdown night with your house. Are you cooking, and what are you cooking for us?
I can definitely cook, and you know, I would probably have to throw on some steaks, honestly, and make my
I'm
mom's
all good
mashed
with that.
potatoes. Yep, my mom
I'm,
makes some killer mashed potatoes, and I've been making them for a while, and I love them. And then I'd probably just mix up a salad. I'm a big Caesar salad guy, but
there you
especially with
go.
steak.
There you go.
Maybe some garlic bread.
I'll be there. The flight leaves. The flight leaves in like an hour. I'm gonna think I can make it.
Perfect. And you're 2 hours ahead, so you'll make
Yeah,
it.
and the TSA line's like 2 people, so I'll be able to go right
Yeah,
through my bare feet for crying out loud.
yeah.
Question being asked: what's your favorite moment as a T-bone thus far? It doesn't have to be game related. This is coming from Morgan. Any
Doesn't
favorite
have to
moments,
be.
T-bone? Yeah, whatever's your favorite moment. Any
I mean, I had a lot. I had a ton of fun. But I mean, honestly, it was probably towards the late of the season. You know, we started off early in the season, kind of struggling, and you know, halfway through, I think All-Star break, we were what third or fourth in the
Yep.
division, and then we just came back and killed it, and just kept on riding those, you know, the streaks, and just like honestly, just how everybody was meshing together while we were playing and going on those streaks and coming back and taking first place. And just it was awesome. It was definitely on field, like best moments. Just being around, just the atmosphere,
right?
and having everybody enjoy it as much as I did, and just bring everything they had every single day. You know, it was just awesome.
Okay, you're done. I walk in your house. You're not playing video games, but I'm gonna you give me the remote control, and it's already set to your streaming apparatus. What am I going to turn what's going to be going on streaming wise? What's going to come up on that screen when I push on? What are you watching right now?
Watching right now, I'm getting back into Ozark on Netflix. Season 3
Oh
just came
boy.
out, so I'm catching up on season 2
Yep.
again, just because it's been
Okay.
what 1 or 2 years. I love Ozark. Definitely one of my favorite shows.
Yeah, I got to I got to episode. I'm in episode 9 of season 3. I got one more to go. I won't say a
Nice.
word, but
Thank you.
I had a conference call last night at 9:30 in our time in Australia, and I wanted to cancel that because I wanted to watch the last episode.
Yep.
So I'm sitting here all day going, wait, sometime I got 1 more hour of TV to watch. So yes, great show.
Absolutely.
Any more recommendations I would find on your streaming account?
I'm definitely a big fan of Peaky Blinders. Haven't finished that, but need to get onto it.
Great
And then
show.
yeah, I watched a ton of that. I don't know. I've tried to watch honestly like everything on Netflix that like kind of pops up.
Yeah, I mean, I might go through
And,
withdrawal. I will go through withdrawals at some point. I know I will.
yeah, exactly.
When down the road, 10, 15 years from now, what do you want to do? What is your plans? You know, when your playing days are done, what is it you'd like to do? Or is there a career path for you, or something you'd like to do?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about it a little bit, not too much, just because I, you know, try to stay focused on baseball and not think ahead. But I've always wanted to commercial fish. My brother and my dad have commercial fished a lot, so I've kind of
When you
wanted to
say
get into
commercial
that,
fish, you mean like Deadliest Catch type stuff, or that kind of thing?
like that, but not as crazy in the southeast. It's not as wild, smaller boats. So it'd be like
Right.
halibut and like salmon and
Okay.
all that.
Oh, I
But
love
yeah,
salmon.
yeah, it's so good. And my brother does it, and my dad wants to get back into it. He used to do it when we were younger. So I've always kind of thought about that. Um, More of a hands-on kind of guy. So like any kind of, I
You-
could see myself doing construction or something. But definitely,
I got
I
you.
want to try out fishing for sure, just because
Okay.
my whole family's done it.
And you say family. Tell us about your family. You're the oldest, youngest. How's that pecking order go with you?
I'm the youngest. Got two older brothers. One's 2 years older, and the other one's 4. The oldest one's in
Okay.
the Air Force. He's out in Virginia. So he's been enjoying that. And then my middle brother, he's up in Haines, Alaska, which is a small town north of Juneau, where that's actually where we first lived in
Okay.
Alaska, and then we moved over to Juneau. But he lives up there with his wife and his little baby boy. And I think he's going to start up fishing here pretty soon. I think he might go up to Bristol Bay, depending on kind of what the
Gotcha.
coronavirus has going on. But it's a pretty wild fishing up there. A lot of boats, but good money, and it's a great experience. So I would definitely want to do that one of these days. But yeah, they're doing good. All family's good. Friends are good. So I'm good. And I haven't had to worry too much about this crisis,
Good.
which is nice, and definitely
Amen.
sad for all the families
Yeah.
and stuff out there that are struggling. But
Morgan says, so can you film a day in the life for me, just like Dylan Tyson, Ramsey Romano did? Fans love seeing what you're up to. So there's your invitation. So Morgan wants a day in the life. If you see Ramsey's and Dylan's, did you see those?
I haven't. I need to check that
They
out.
did. Yeah, they're both on our Facebook page. Very good. Ramsey
Okay.
did one and Dylan did one. So I think she's trying to recruit you. So look out. Look, you've been recruited. So look out. But well, I appreciate your time, and you're a phenomenal young man. We're so happy to have you. I'm glad you're doing well, and I can't wait to see your smiling face at some point, and all that good stuff. And maybe one day we'll get you in Australia as well. That'd be even better.
Definitely,
I'm kidding.
that'd be awesome.
I'm preaching Australian. I had to say that. I had to throw that out there. I want to say future Perth Heat pitcher, and did I say that? I'm just, but anyway, all good.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time and all the good stuff and your advice, and I'm just glad to have you, man. And I hope you stay safe, and give your lovely wife a hello from all the T-Bone family.
Will do. I appreciate it, Dan.
We appreciate you, bud. We'll talk to you soon. All right. There he is,
sounds
folks. Good. You bet. There he is, coming to you from Reno. There he is, T-Bone's right-hander extraordinaire. There he is, Dylan Baker. Just a classy young man, a phenomenal young man. We're so very blessed to have him as part of the T-Bone family. And again, it's like like Joe said, and Joe's told you this before, and I really believe this. There are some managers. I'm not going to name names, but there are some managers out there, and I get it. They're going to have. They're going to get the guy who throws the hardest, runs the fastest, whatever, has the best numbers, and that's great. And they don't really consider them the intangibles to me, which are the things outside the box. What kind of person are they? What kind of teammate? And Joe's told you. Joe Capietner's told us all how he goes about it, how he will tell those, he'll tell when he vets somebody, he actually will go and ask the questions. It's almost like a job interview for Joe. I mean, he talks to the player, talks about the program, what they're going to be doing, and then he goes and vets them like you would in a job market. I oftentimes will get recommendations to, can you recommend a kid for you? He's got you in your resume. It's the very same thing, and Joe does his homework. And it's amazing to me, time and time again, that every year I've been there, 17, 18, 19, I can go through that roster and say, good man, good man, good man. It's 99.9%. I can't think of any bad eggs. There are no bad eggs. I mean, there may have been one I don't know about that was there for a day, but again, Joe creates an atmosphere, the type of young men he has, the type of players that comes his way. There's those intangibles, yes, and they're all good players. I mean, Dylan's numbers last year, 3.36, and I could have asked him about this. He could have easily been out of 9 starts. He had 14. He had 9 decisions. He could have very easily got 14 starts. About 10 of those, he could have been 10-0. He had some real hard luck, but he never got down on it. He just kept his positive attitude. He kept going out there, and every time out there would throw those strikes and the great numbers. And we saw those stats, but what I saw behind the scenes is what a good individual this young man is. And what I can go on and on about all these guys, from former big leaguers like Daniel Nava to guys that are just rookies that just joined the ball club. They're over and over again. And it's amazing to me how this culture with the T-Bones is like that over and over again. And it starts with Joe, Bill Sobey, and John West and Frank White, that field staff. You don't get a better class much than that. And of course, Chris Brown does and has done over the years. And now with Mark Brandmeier, when his enthusiasm, we've got a pretty daggum good situation going if we ever get back to playing baseball. All right, let's play some catch up here. Let's see here. A couple things to go back on. Let me get back. I want to get this on the screen here. First off, good to see Dave out there as well. Let's see what else we got. Thanks for Brad joining us earlier. Let's see here. Mary says Kelly's is awesome. The burrito spread. So Kelly's, which was Josh Buchholz, the executive director of the association, his uncle is place is Kelly's. So Kelly's is awesome. She's definitely a fan. I'm a GM. Went to check this place out because I've not been there. I got to get over there. Let's see here. Thanking Josh for such a great insight, a crazy situation, and working on these TikToks. Morgan talked about that. Let's see here. Let's go down a bit. From Puerto Rico, it's Roy Morales' dad checking in from Puerto Rico, and I'd like to say hello. I'll try to. By the way, I will try to reach out. I'm going to send another email. I don't think I have the right email address for Roy. I'd love to get Roy on the show, and let me make sure I will send him another link to or another email later on this week. So, Dad, if you're listening or watching still, let your son know. We're trying to reach out to him, let him get him on the show from the island of Puerto Rico, which is just a divine place. I love the Caribbean, and I love that territory. Been there twice, and then it's just both times phenomenal. Let's see what else we got here. Bobby talked about Bobby already. Just playing catch up here. Kevin saying, Brad, I want to know that hopefully you're included this week in the association. I believe he was. Sorry about that. Let's see what else we got here. And Morgan says she can edit anything Dylan does. So show's been great so far. The Steakhouse here on a Wednesday on Facebook Live. I'm glad you're along. Glad you're all doing well. A couple things to wrap this thing up with. We've had a great show so far. I didn't get a chance to really give you, I want to give one little thing back on the Josh Buchholz conversation. I asked Josh, and this is newsworthy, as I mentioned, that the league was mentioned in this whole Major League Baseball MILB contraction addition deal. And the word was that the Sugarland Scooters and the St. Paul Saints could probably be brought into minor league baseball and the organized minor leagues. But I thought two things were interesting. One, what Josh talked about is he sees this thing evolving, that down the road, there could be more of a loose base affiliation down the road. Number two, and I didn't mention this, but he kind of covered this, and it's something I've thought about as well. The ownership group of the St. Paul Saints also owns affiliated baseball club, one of which is the Fort Myers Miracle down in the Florida State League. And I believe that's the high A club of the Minnesota Twins, I believe. And they're at there's Lee County Sports Park in City of Palms. I believe it's Lee County is the ballpark they have down there. I get them confused. There's two really nice ballparks in Fort Myers, and one is the Miracles ballpark. But Fort Myers is the home of the Twins High A, and that ownership group, Gold Kling's group, with Bill Murray and others, and Mike Veck, all that group, they also own the team down the Florida State League. So they've often had not players, but staff go back and forth through the organization. So it's not surprising that A, they're a top-notch organization, and B, they have their finger on the pulse of MILB. So take that as you will with a grain of salt. Let's see. Thank you very much, Meredith. I think I'm missing a vowel or something on his email because it bounced back. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. Meredith saying Donna's got. Yeah, I'll reach out to her. It was on my notes of things to do there. That from there, and I love what a beautiful day it was for a morning over there in the West Coast, Reno. Having been to Reno a couple of times, I love it. Beautiful up there, the gates of Tahoe. But having Dylan Baker on as well. Wrapping things up here, I'm kind of getting my notes squared away. Couple little items of note. TikTok video is up. I'm going to give you a little shot of that. I think I've got that. I thought I had it up there. I'm going to see if I've got it. Pull that up. But I believe I've got the TikTok video over here. Bear with me just a moment. There we go. And I also want to give you, first off, I want to give you guys, and if you missed it yesterday, this is what the association the news, and I didn't get a chance to give it to the top of the show, but basically it's up on our Facebook page and also our Twitter page. Basically, what the league came down with yesterday, and we came on live for you yesterday doing breaking news. The league basically is suspended the start date of May 19th. That's item number one of the news of newsworthiness. Number two, the idea was to play baseball in a window of July to late September with no firm date. But you heard Josh Buchholz tell us, several scenarios, but around that if you looked at the calendar yet, I don't know if you guys have, July 1st is actually a Saturday. I'm sorry, pardon me. July 1st is actually during the week. July 4th is a Saturday. June 30th is actually the Monday of the 4th of July holiday. So that whole week, that whole window is already a window of people being off anyway. So if you're going to restart baseball, America's pastime, it would sort of be fitting to start it. If you don't start it on Memorial Day, 4th of July holiday would be right there with you, because that's also a big player in our history as well as baseball goes. So also, let's see here. Got to pull the notes here, but that to me, the two big things from that was A, something we kind of already knew, and then B, they're working on plans. And what I loved about what Josh said was, keep rather than peppering dates out there and had to change, let's go with a broader approach. And then when we know for sure, we can zero back in, and that makes it easy for operators, for salespeople, for fans, as we make our plans for all of us. And that's, I think that's the right way to go about it. And I can tell you, and I told him this, and I know this for a fact, they've been on top of this thing since the get-go. Even when this thing was 3 months out, they were prepared, already working down the road and not just kind of sitting there. Not all leagues have done that. I can tell you that right now. Okay, a couple of items here. Let's see what we got there. I'll pull that down for you. I want to get the TikTok video in just a second as well. But this one from Morgan here saying, woohoo, so the fans for helping. Oh, shout out to the fans for helping this week's TikTok. We love seeing your memories and can't wait to make more. A lot of fun putting that together. Yes, I'm going to show that to you now. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen here. Give me just a moment and it will come up. And there is the TikTok video. I'll pull Morgan's comment down. And by the way, WD-40, remember I was telling you about the little button thing I want to do, that little thing. This is what would make it easier if we had little buttons. Okay, here we go. Here's a TikTok video that Morgan put together. I'm going to go ahead and play it for you guys right now. Check this out. See if you recognize anybody.
In the summertime when the weather is high, you can stretch right up and touch the sky. When the weather's right, you got women on your mind. Have a drink, have a drive, go ahead and see what you can find.
It doesn't fire you up for baseball and for T-Bone's baseball. I don't know what will. That is so much fun. That is awesome stuff, Morgan. Great job. And that's something that I don't think, we're behind. Morgan and I are behind the scenes folks, even though we are, she's out there between innings and during the games and out there, and I'm on the air with you guys and do all these things. We really are behind the scenes folks. And the effort to put those things together, it's not easy. It takes time, and she does a phenomenal job, and I appreciate her work with that, and we're very fortunate to have her doing that and helping out the T-Bones Bonafide Fun brand right there. Speaking of Bonafide Fun, I'm going to put that up on the screen as well. There we go. We'll put that up there for you, though. Shows the Steakhouse. Glad you're along. Hot stove update-wise, I'll give you the latest because there's not a lot. By the way, I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions if you've got them. Questions or comments, please, in the next 10 minutes or so. It's the show's yours. Let me know what you guys have. Although you've already asked a lot of good stuff from Josh and from Dylan, but if you guys have questions, comments, or just concerns, I'm here to perhaps help you guys in any way. And I'd love to hear from you as we the last kind of a rapid fire. It's your chance to kind of clear this thing out. But as far as transaction wise, Chicago made a move. Kyle Halbond traded to was traded High Point. Also signing Freddie Launders, a catcher. The one that I thought was good. I love this player, Grant Buck, a player for the Cleveland Railroaders. They brought him back, and then they also signed infielder Michael Hill, Joe Lanehard, and Tyler Wilson. All so a couple of righties they picked up, but a couple of guys in our division. But Grant Buck, a guy I like a lot, a really good player, and like the versatility there. The Kansas City thing, I admit I didn't mention this last week, and I probably should have, but Cito Culver actually inked his deal last week. Well, basically, we were on the air. And Culver was already, our property was on our roster. I actually had Culver down as signed already. That was my clerical bad. Because what I do is have a roster, and each player that signed a contract, he's bold, and the ones that haven't are not bold as far as the lettering goes on my roster. He was bold, and I thought he had signed already. But a clerical thing, he did sign last week. Culver figures to be your shortstop every day to open the season. So that is that little clerical cleanup, kind of clean things up a bit, if you will. So all good with that. But I wanted to give that to you guys as we close this thing out here. Questions, comments, they're open for you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it as well. A longer video as well. Stay tuned for What's for Dinner Tonight with Dan Vaughn. Yes, it was a longer video. For some reason, we got a lot more cover video this time, and it's the good news for these cooking videos for me is I'm able to work on my video editing skills, which I had not been worked on in some times. I'm able to work on that, and we bring you one of our mainstay dishes, and it's really easy, a great chicken dish that we make here at the house all the time, and I probably make it 20, 25 times a year, and I love it, and it's a mainstay for us, so it's made in the oven. We also do the grill with it, but that will be all good. Question being asked, that'll be on Facebook tonight, by the way, is Morgan telling us. That'll be on Facebook tonight on our Facebook page, and then I'll have it on my channels down the road. Brian asking, coaching staff, yes, staff is all back. I've talked to Bill Sobey via email last week. John West has done some TikTok tours as well. And, of course, Frank White. Frank was at the relaunch press conference with Mark Brandmeier and company when we had the press conference back in February, and Frank will be back as well. All hands on deck there. So, yes, we're all set with our coaching staff to be back, and that's good news as well. Bobby asking, is Danny Mars still with us? No, Danny was traded to, let me pull that up for you. He was traded, and I got to remember where we traded him to. I want to say Sussex County. I'll give you that detail real quick. He was traded. Let me pull that. Where are my rosters? There we go. There are my rosters. Let's pull that up. The most recent roster's got my transactions on there. And I believe, let's pull that down for you. Talk amongst yourselves, folks. We traded Danny on, when was that? It would have been recently. Oh, okay. Traded Danny Mars on the 5th of March to Sussex for Tyler Falwell. Falwell is a very good, that was a good trade for both clubs. Talk about a trade for both clubs. It's positive. You get a really good player, Danny Mars, who's a phenomenal outfielder. I used to joke he's a Keith Curcio starter kit, and pretty fitting. They both played high school ball at the same high school, were teammates in a year or so apart. Both very similar ball players, very similar type young men. Very phenomenal young man. Danny going to Sussex. Tyler Falwell, you may recall, he was in Sioux City, a big part of their bullpen for back-to-back years. 2 years ago, there was no better reliever in the league as far as non-closer reliever type than Falwell. And he also had a great year last year. And Sioux City really lost a great piece of their bullpen. I've talked about Steve Montgomery, their skipper in Sioux City, builds his team from the backwards, the bullpen going forward. And he always had a strong bullpen, and that was a big piece of it. And Falwell is a T-bone. We'll reach out to him. Maybe we can get him on the show as well. But a good question right there. Anybody else out there? Anything else for you as well? Love to hear from you guys. We're about to wrap this thing up. You guys, love to hear from you as well. You can reach out to me at my email. It's Vaughn, and I'll give it to you quickly here. I guess I can type that in, can't I? First off, you can follow me on Twitter and the T-Bone's Twitter, but my email, which some of you guys have reached out, is Devon at T-Bone. Let's just type it in for you. There we go. There we go. If you guys want to reach out, it's tbonesbaseball.com. Love to hear from you. It's always open, the virtual mailbag. But if you have a question, comment, you want to join just about the show or a question or whatever, I'm there for you. Also, T-Bone's Twitter, T-Bone's Facebook, both you should be part of. You're in social media. Obviously you are. You're watching the show. Follow the Facebook page. Follow our Twitter page. And, of course, I'm on Twitter at Dan Vaughn Jr. Dan Vaughn Jr. I'll put that up on the screen for you as well. And it'll be at, and I'd love to have you guys follow me there. There we go. And put this up for you. There you go. You can follow me right there. And I'd love to have you guys there. It's been a great week so far for me. I had a chance on Monday to spend the better part of the day in a Zoom Sportscasters Roundtable, and I came away with a lot of some really interesting ideas and things. But the thing I learned most, how thankful I am to be a part of what we do, and how thankful I am to be part of what you guys do, and how blessed I am to be able to call games and share these things with you, these social channels. I was listening to guys, listen to Jim Nantz, listen to Bob Costas, listen to, I'm trying to go, Kevin Harlan, KC guy, Beth Mowens, who else was on that thing? Tracy Wolfson, a couple of sideline reporters as well. There were several others as well, Ian Engel that were on there. Clark Kellogg, not Clark Kellogg, it was Kevin Kugler. I'm sorry. Clark Kellogg's the CBS analyst, but they did talk about Clark. And what I learned with all this was how fortunate I ended, because I hear these guys ask questions, as young broadcasters and some veterans, and they often ask questions that are coming from a perspective of where they're from. And it was obvious they'd had some experiences that maybe not have been the most pleasant. And I can tell you that I've had the pleasant experience of being a part of the T-Bones family, both 17, 18, 19, now 20. And even though things are different now, it's a different world we live in, and we don't know when we'll play baseball, I did come out of that conversation on Monday being how thankful I am to be a part of the T-Bone family and to share this with you guys, and to share these conversations, to share this bond, this mateship, whatever you want to call it, and a chance to call the games and paint a picture for you guys home and away. So I'm very, very big into that. Let's see here. How you doing out there as well? Glad you guys are here, and glad you guys are joining us here, and glad you are a part of the show. We're talking Kansas City T-Bones baseball on a Wednesday. Pretty much wraps it up. We had great stuff today, didn't we? I mean, you guys like that? Coming up in future episodes, I've got some things lined up for you. We're going to be going back around the association. We're going to visit Sioux Falls again. At some point, I'm going to have the combo platter of the two boys from Cleburne, Denny Gehrig, and, of course, Brett Allred. They'll be joining me at some point. Also going to be joined by Laura Hoover. She's the voice of the Gary South Shore Railcats. She'll be joining us down the line as well in the month of May. Also, conversations with Joe Cathpietra, Chris Brown. Also going to hear from Nate Miller. Of course, Morgan will stop by. We got all kinds of guests. We'll be hearing from Mike Martin. Also the guys, Rob Paneer and Kevin Luca will also be stopping by at some point during the season, during this hiatus we're on right now, waiting for baseball to go. So we're going to be joining all that with you guys at some point. So we got a lot of really good things lined up for you on this show and on our channels as well. And also more cooking videos. I'm telling you, I can sort of get myself around the kitchen, and hopefully you guys will try my recipes. And so far, no one's called complaining, and no one's passed out yet. That's a good sign. And so far in our house, no one's done the same either. So all good. Big thank yous today. First off, thank you for you guys taking the time. Thanks to Executive Director of the American Association, Josh Buchholz, for joining us. A quick story about Josh. The GM job is a thankless job in this league. For many years, he served, and I don't have the exact years, but he was, let's see, he was with Fargo in their front office since he started for them. I think he was a clubby back in the day. We could have talked forever, but he started there, was promoted to the front office. following the 1997 season when he was the clubhouse manager. In 96, he was in Fargo for all those years, eventually rising to GM. They took over the executive director spot in the association back in 2018. And one of the things I want you guys to know, and this falls back with Chris Brown, and again, Pete Lavin, guys that I respect, Shane Tritz, the former Sioux City GM. I would go to Fargo, and it'd be raining outside, and there is Josh out there squidging down the field. He's out there, he's not just looking at the sky at his radar. He's squidging the field down, sweeping out the stands, and he'd come up and check in with me and let me know personally, hey, we're gonna play this when we're gonna delay. He was always up front with you like that. A great host. But my memories of seeing guys like Josh squidging the field, guys like Chris Brown, our own Chris Brown, who's walking along and sees something I don't see. Maybe it's a weed or a piece of trash, but he sees it like an eagle eye, picks it up. People don't see this. You guys don't see how fortunate we are to have a guy like Brownie. Pete Lavin, who's now with the Jackson club, the Mississippi Braves, the Southern League. He is with the Atlanta Braves. I'd come in the ballpark on a Saturday morning and Pete Lavin, shirt off, in khaki slacks, blowing down the concourse when the interns weren't there yet. I mean, and then Shane Tritz was a do-it-all guy there in Sioux City for a number of years, and I've talked about him over and over. We're very blessed in our league to have some really great stewards of our game, and Josh is one of those guys, and it's just so fitting to have him as executive director, because no one understands what goes on at these ballparks more than a guy who's done it and has done that, a guy who's squidged the field and picked the trash up. Those guys get it. And so we're in good hands when you got a guy like Josh. So I appreciate him joining us. Dylan Baker, appreciate him joining us as well. Just appreciate everybody. And again, a long close here, but just enjoyed it. Can you tell I don't want to go? Can you tell how much I love this show? Because we get to talk and chat and keep up. If you are bored and you're a Facebook follower of mine, you can join me on my virtual happy hour today at 5 o'clock Central Time, and we'll just talk about whatever. We just kind of sit around and look at each other on a screen, but all good. Yes, last year's grounds crew pumping out the dugout for the start of the game. Brian, you are right on, man. That is exactly right. That those guys working, and I don't think I'm sitting in the booth at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or 9 o'clock in the morning. They're out there pumping that dugout then. I mean, those guys, hours and what they do, we're so fortunate to have them. So, again, thank you, everybody, watching us worldwide on replay. We went to Puerto Rico today, went up to Fargo. We've had folks watch us in Canada, Indiana, Texas, Nevada, California, Florida, all points in between. And, of course, right there in smack down the middle of Kansas City, the metro area of Kansas City, Kansas, and all you folks the Missouri side as well. We're glad you guys joined us. Thank you, everybody, the T-Bones family. We love you. Much love. I'm going to take this close sign up. I hate doing this part. This is the part I hate the most, is putting that close sign up. By the way, Brian, thanks for the close sign as well. It's the part that I hate the most. We're going to close this thing up, turn that close sign up, and close this down for another week. We'll see you next week, noon Central Daylight Time. So we're coming away from the Steakhouse here, the official Facebook Live show and the official show of your Kansas City T-Bones. Much love, everybody. We'll see you in the broadcast next time.